Okay, let's kick this off. Thanks everybody for joining our Kowa webinar tonight or today, wherever you're based in the world. We've got the pleasure today of introducing you to one of our very latest ambassadors, Jan Hvizdal. Jan is a very interesting chap. He's done many interesting things in his young life so far, and he travels the world. He's an expedition photographer, a dog sledder. He travels the world around Antarctica on ships, guiding. He's done many things. He's a fantastic photographer. His wildlife photography is amazing, and we're very lucky to have him on board as an ambassador, using our optics out in the field and guiding. And so we're going to hear all about his adventures and some of the wildlife he's captured and some of the things he's doing at the moment. So it should be a really interesting webinar today. So if you've got any questions you want to ask Jan directly, you can use the chat function. So if you just pop those on, and then at the end of the webinar, we'll ask Jan the questions. If you've got any Kowa related questions, any optics questions about equipment or anything like that, there's a couple of Kowa guys sitting here. We can answer your questions in the background, so feel free to post any questions you might have. And then we're going to record this webinar, so it will be posted on our YouTube channel to watch it at your leisure. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Jan. Thank you very much,
Good
Jan,
evening,
for being
guys.
with us. Thank you for being with us tonight, Jan. I really appreciate you taking the time out to tell us all about some of the fantastic projects and some of the fantastic places you see and all the interesting things. So over to you.
You are more than welcome. Thank you so much, Robert. And I would love to welcome you all here. And right now I will start to share screen, and hopefully you will enjoy roughly 1 hour long talk about frozen worlds. So let's go for it. So here we go. I'm very proud Kowa ambassador. I've got to Kowa roughly in 2018 when I was guiding in Svalbard, high Arctic, special archipelago, which I will be definitely talking about. If you want to follow me, I'm putting most of the stuff on Instagram, Jan Hvizdal, and you should always also follow Kowa Sportics Instagram. And at the beginning, I prepared small intro to my project, which is called Frozen Worlds. So enjoy it. So it's roughly 13 years when I, for first time, left the office, and I decided that I don't want to live so-called normal office life. I left to New Zealand, and basically I never started to live fully in Czech Republic until last year. I was traveling all continents. When I was living in Canada, I fell in love with dogs and dog sledding. So I started to guide as a musher in beautiful Alberta, town of Kenmore. And that was the beginning of the journey I want to invite you to. After 1 year having such a good time in Canadian Rockies, I actually decided that I have to follow this kind of career, and I left to Svalbard, which is an Arctic archipelago which belongs to Norway. And that was the biggest decision in my life. After that, I was guiding for 5 years there, which was absolutely beautiful, and the place is outstanding, and I will take you there with me as well. After some time, I fell in love with photography, which is the reason why right now I'm working as an expedition photographer for Hurtigruten Expeditions, right now rebranded like HX. And I also started Project Frozen World, where I'm trying to show the beauty and the fragility of the polar areas to people and to the students and kids all around the Czech Republic and also around the world. We also shot short documentary Svalbard Life Expedition, so you can find it on YouTube. Let's go for it. I wanted to start with my way of traveling. And after being on the road for such a long time, I actually developed the way how to travel and to get as close as possible to local people, to animals, and to really enjoy it more like a traveler than like a tourist. And one day I wrote this quote for a travel forum on Facebook, and it was something like, "Traveling is for free, spirit is the currency." I think that it's absolutely amazing, and doesn't matter if you are 20 or 60 years old, you can try to do something different, and you can get to the places which are absolutely outstanding without spending so much money. You can go yachting, you can go dog sledding, you can really take care for old horses, as I did in Slovakia. And for me, I believe that it's a great way how to travel the world. And I was always haunted by deep thoughts, basically since I was young. So the whole thing I was doing was the way to the meaning of life, try to find the essence, or try to find what we are here for. And that was pushing me into wild nature and into places which are absolutely outstanding and pure. This is photo from our dog sled expedition to the east coast of Svalbard, like 2-3 years ago. And Svalbard will be big part of this talk. As you can see, it's an archipelago which lies between 74 and 81 north. It belongs to Norway, and there were no Inuit people. If you look to Russia, Canada, Alaska, or Greenland, there were always Inuit people. That didn't happen in Svalbard, and it has also influence on how the Svalbard looks like now. And Longyearbyen is the only big settlement on the island, and I put two photos here just to show you the difference. So this is Longyearbyen during the polar night, and my photo of the Northern Lights. From the photographic point of view and for the enthusiasts, I was trying to create photo which will have a subject in the background. Very often the subject is in foreground. This one is with the background. And here you have slightly different Longyearbyen during the midnight sun. So the whole area is oscillating between complete darkness and complete daylight. It's absolutely incredible to spend 1 year in the high Arctic, to see all the darkness of the polar night, then to see how the nature is waking up and how all the animals are coming and then also leaving at the end of the summer and beginning of the autumn. So just this is one slide why it is happening. The planet Earth is not only rotating around the sun, but it's also tilting. And because of the tilt, one hemisphere is always, especially polar areas from one hemisphere, are always in the dark, and the other ones are always in the light. So this is a short diagram. Let's say from beginning of November till the end of February, you will have basically almost no light. First sun is coming on 14 February. And then at the beginning of April, you have no darkness. And then you have almost 5 months of no darkness. So it's a quite special place for human beings, for plants, for animals. And I was really lucky enough to work there for a quite long time. I also wanted to introduce you some of the animals from Svalbard. All the photos and all the videos are mine. And as I said, it's a special place where only 4 animals are staying for a whole year. And I will introduce you those. So first of them is a Svalbard reindeer. It's an endemic subspecies of reindeer, like a Scandinavian reindeer, and it's slightly smaller, having, of course, thicker fat layers. And I was shooting this photo in the autumn where the reindeer was taking off the velvet from its antlers. And in general, in wildlife photography, I'm always trying to be at the level of the animal, because when I'm on the level of the animal, I'm focusing on the eyes, and then the photo is talking to you. I'm always saying that photography is a visual storytelling. So that's it. That's what I'm trying to do. Second animal, which is living in Svalbard, is actually plant-eating bird. It's an endemic subspecies of rock ptarmigan. And when I did my first multi-day trip in the darkness of early February 2018, my dogs were going crazy, and I thought, what the hell is happening? There was 2 ptarmigans flying low, and I was just wondering, what are you doing here, guys? Just to understand, Svalbard is, let's say, from 96% permafrost. So you can imagine that the plant-eating animals are having quite a lot of problems to succeed there, to survive. Another animal which is living all year long is Arctic fox. And especially for photographers, this is one of the highlights why to go to Svalbard. Everybody loves foxes. They are very often very curious. And then you are able to achieve photos like this. And maybe some of these things I will be telling about photography are complete basics, but I love to mention them because I always see people doing them wrong. Always think about light. Doesn't matter if it's northern lights, if it's, in wildlife. Very often people, when they have some superb encounter like this, to have an Arctic fox very close by, they stop thinking about what is happening and they are just pushing the button. I'm always trying to wait a bit and put myself in the position where the animal will be on the proper light, and then I can achieve photos like this. So that's a third animal which is living on Svalbard all year long. Here we go again. And this is animal number 4, the king of the Arctic, polar bear. For me, I saw all the big bears in close vicinity, like 1 meter from myself. And it's absolutely, I love it. People are asking me, so you've seen so many polar bears, like, is it getting, like, do you still enjoy it? I love it. I will love it forever. Every encounter is amazing. It should be conducted in the safe way, as possible. For example, this bear, you can see on her neck, maybe you can see, there is a GPS device. So this GPS device is sending the signal for the governor of Svalbard. Some of the females are wearing these devices. And of course, we are having many marine mammals. Some of the seals are actually overwintering in south of Svalbard, but in general, most of the marine mammals are coming when the sun is back and when the photosynthesis is creating all the phytoplankton and zooplankton. So then they have lots to eat, or fish are having lots to eat, and those marine mammals like seals and dolphins and minke whales, humpback whales, sometimes blue whales, have something to eat. So then they are coming, I would say, May, June, July, August. And this is a bearded seal. Again, I was trying to get completely to the surface of the water, which is quite dangerous if you have a lens which is as heavy as 3 kilograms, but then you have these nice pictures. And this is a bearded seal, which is one of the most common source of food for polar bears, roughly 300 kilograms, one of the bigger seals. So let's get back on my journey. This is, by the way, the best dog in the world, and she is lying roughly two meters away from me here now. And she was my lead dog in Svalbard. I absolutely fell in love with her, and she is a big part of my story. After we spent 4 years together in high Arctic on everyday basis, we were going out. Then I actually adopted her, and she's having beautiful retirement in the Czech mountains. This job was a massive game changer because I matured a lot and I learned basically everything what I'm using in my guiding there. If we are talking about safety, if we are talking about outdoor skills, if we are talking about talking with people, guide skills, I learned a lot in Green Dog Svalbard. And I'm still associating myself with the company because they are just amazing. And we have 300 dogs up there in high Arctics. And this is where I spent my first winter, roughly 2-3 kilometers from the kennel. And I was living in the hut with no running water and dry toilet. If you can see the ladder was for me to go and lie on the roof of the hut to watch the northern lights in the sleeping bag. It was absolutely, and you can see that Svalbard, I always call it planet Svalbard. It's just so different. So if you will want to visit, there is probably the cheapest and best way to get to high Arctic. And if you will go there, please read about it and try to respect it, because that's the main thing with the people and guides who are guiding on Svalbard. We understand guiding in Svalbard as a really precious thing. So we are honored that we can guide in the high Arctic, and we are trying to protect all the animals and all the landscape, all the plants. Like, it's a big thing for us. And this is, you can see, I really like this photo because this is a first evening of the midnight sun. That means that midnight sun means that polar day started and the sun is not actually going behind the horizon. And we are always celebrating it. So we are living without running water and with dry toilet. We have chairs from the second hand, but we are drinking champagne. So this is our way, how we were celebrating living in high Arctic. Greenlandic dog, that's another photo of mine. I love to take photos of the dogs, and I would recommend faster shutter and try to get some emotions. This Greenlandic dog was going to me. I was trying to give him some treat, and he was going towards me, and then I was capturing all this emotion and those blue eyes. It's such a special breed. For the last 4,000 years, the dog hasn't been mixed bred, and that's what keeping the sled dog very, very strong. If someone would be on doubts if this is a right way how to live, I can confirm 1,000% that it is. These dogs are amazing. They are always happy, always hungry, always eager to run, and they have no problem to live in -40s, -50s. That's just incredible breed. That's the reason why actually Roald Amundsen choose them for the South Pole conquest. And Greenlandic dogs were the only reason why Norwegians were able to claim South Pole as easy as they did. And it was just a nice trip for them. And Amundsen was following what he learned from the Greenlandic Inuit. And it's necessary to say that he brought on this trip 52 dogs and he ate 41. This is how people were working with dogs in the high Arctic. So it is what it is. That's not how we are working with them in the high Arctic now in Svalbard. And also just to show you the dominance of the dogs, these dogs were and are still used for hunting polar bears in high Arctic by Inuit people. From my perspective, trophy hunting makes no sense. I don't like it. I'm not a hunter, but I understand that people who are living high above 70 north are not having so many supermarkets around, and they are still living how their ancestors were living in the years before. So then I understand that they are using these dogs for hunting bears. Another thing I wanted to talk about little is actually connected to the media presentation and to the wills or tries how to protect planet Earth. So as you can see, not so many people would know that in 1950s there was a 5,000 polar bears, and now we are having around 30,000. That's good. The only reason is that we stopped hunting polar bears. That's the thing. Most of the species to extinction brought Western people who were hunting them actually. And on the left side of the screen, you can see the populations. Svalbard is a part of the Barents Sea population, light blue on the right side of the left screen. And there is roughly 3,500 polar bears. What is quite interesting is that polar bear is not an endangered species. Polar bear is threatened based on the projection of loss of the sea ice. So of course we are losing big amounts of sea ice and it's changing our planet. So we should try to do our best to change this. But polar bear is very often used for kind of green propaganda. And I don't think that we should try to protect one species. We should try protect the whole ecosystem. And that's the thing. The northern white rhino is on the brink of extinction. And basically for last, let's say 60 years, nobody was trying to protect it, or very small amount of people was trying to protect them. So there are so many species around the world. We didn't hear about northern white rhino, and it's a species which is connected to animal which was living on planet Earth for 8 million years. So I don't believe that scaring will make protection of the planet like better, that people will work out how to do it, how to protect the planet. No, I believe that education is the only way. So that's why I'm holding lectures for the kids in Czech Republic. I did it in Norway as well. And this is the slow way how we have to change the world. We have to educate the youths, and when they will have a kids, they will educate their kids, and we will create a logical circle which will, at the end of the day, save the world. Hopefully, that's at least how I see it. I'm always adding this slide because I'm part of it, and that's the way how I left the office. And this guy did completely same what I did in Canada, like writing crazy emails to the dog sled companies that he wants to be a musher. That was me. And he did the same with Svalbard. So Nico is my friend who was on my trip, on the trip I was guiding, let's say in January 2020. And after that, he told me, oh, that's the best job in the world, man. And I was just like, yeah, okay, just give it a second. It's very hard, blah, blah, blah. But he sold his house in Holland. He took his fiance to Svalbard, and he became a musher. And he spent next 5 years just dog sledding around Svalbard, and he completely changed his life. So I'm always having a kind of this motivational twist, but with a good motivation. Like, if you feel that you are not enjoying the occupation, the job you are doing, there is nothing easier than change it. Of course, it's not in every case, but most of the time you can change the direction of your life, and you can start doing something like mushing in high Arctic or in Lapland or somewhere there. After I spent those 4 years, yeah, maybe I wanted to say one more thing. In this time, let's say 2018, I got for the first time in connection with Kowa, because especially during the polar day when we are guiding in Svalbard, and if you guide longer trips, it's nice to have a binoculars with you. And I got first version of BD 842, and I absolutely love them. Those were sturdy. They were able to be with me in minus 30s, minus 40s, and it was incredibly sharp. So that was first time when I bought Kowa binoculars, and I was using them in Antarctica in 2019 as well, when I went as a historian to Antarctica as a part-time job. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. We are using these binoculars for spotting polar bears, of course, because earlier you will spot the bear, then you have a more time to actually adjust the whole dog sledge. I'm usually having 30 dogs and 8 people, so to get ready for the bear. So it's a crucial tool for us on Svalbard. So my recent job, I call it dream job. So I'm working for Hurtigruten Expeditions, right now HX, and we are discovering places all around the world, especially in the polar areas. But soon I'm going to Africa as well. And this is what we do.
It's not that we don't enjoy visitors, it's just not that interesting, to be honest.
Yeah. Agree.
Well, you know, life goes on, doesn't it? People come, people go.
Tourists. Who cares?
Well, I kind of like tourists. I think it's exciting.
Boring!
What?
Boat? Guys, boat!
It's finally here.
Guys, I think it's actually called a ship.
So that's a kind of dream job for me. We are slightly different cruise company. We have a small vessels, 100 to 500 people, and we are trying to explain people context between the geographical aspects and animals and history. So it's a brilliant job. Holding lectures. I'm also taking photos, of course. I can be polar bear guard or driving Zodiac boat. So on my duty with Hurtigruten expeditions, I spend a lot of time on the coast, west coast of Norway. We were chasing northern lights. I spent 2 winters there. It's an absolutely amazing place. Sometimes it's getting a little bit rough, but it's a part of being sailor. And this is North Sea, which is very often can be more tricky than other seas. For example, on the way to Antarctica, like Drake Passage is well known for getting nasty once upon a time. North Sea is nasty almost always. And of course, penguins are, I'm always calling them that penguins are like antidepressives, that you watch it for 20 minutes and you are just immediately happy. This is one of my photos and I called it Marriage. So those are gentle penguins in Carcass Island in Falklands, sub-Antarctic island. And I call it Marriage with the description that you don't always have to look on each other, but you should share the same beach. So that's the idea behind this photo. And of course, what makes me the most excited is wildlife photography on Svalbard, and especially polar bears, wolves, bears are making me incredibly happy. This photo is from Zodiac, let's say 70 meters from the bear. It was a female polar bear on the island of Kvitoya, and she stayed with us for maybe 3 hours. She was absolutely chilled out. We didn't disturb her at all, and that's the whole thing. That's how it's supposed to be. And of course, we spent quite a lot of time in Outer Hebrides, in Scotland, Shetlands, and I think that there is no person in this world who wouldn't like Atlantic puffins or puffins in general. So I had beautiful 4 hours when I was able to take very, very sharp photos of puffins in the morning light. So yeah, so much fun. And I wanted to show you what we are actually doing. So this is so-called cruising, and in cruising I will take Zodiac boat and we will go to the place of interest where I will be explaining guests what we can see. For example, in front of glacier, all the fresh brush ice is actually from the glacier calving, which happened, let's say, 30 minutes before. And that's another place where I'm using my binos very often, because when we are looking for wildlife, we are always trying to give our guests best experiences, and of course not to disturb an animal. So we have all the rules for approaching animal, what to do, turning off the engine. And yeah, so that's kind of one module what we can do. That's cruising. Another module is landing. That means that, especially this is in Svalbard, this is in Sjuane, which is 7 islands, roughly 1,000 kilometers from the North Pole. There is only trapper hut and nothing else. And when we are conducting a landing, as you can see, every guide is having a binoculars, and this place is well known for polar bears. So when we are guiding in high Arctic, binoculars are the best tool we have. There is nothing better. And roughly 30 minutes after this picture, we had 2 polar bears coming to the landing site. So we had to disembark all the guests back to the vessel. It was quite cool. Oh. And the next slide is actually a short movie, which I called The Shortest Landing in the World. And we were going to land in Kap Valdburg. It's the west coast of Svalbard, or like not west coast of Spitsbergen, of the main island, but on the east coast, on the eastern part of Svalbard. And all the guides actually got out of the boat, but very soon polar bear was swimming to the landing site because there is a kittiwakes colony. So all the guests, all the guides just get back to the boat, and they got back to the ship. So that means we didn't go for a landing, but I shot a nice drone video of this shortest landing in the world. So enjoy it. So that was it. Basically, as you could see, we are sending some guides on shore, and then the guides are actually going to check the landing site if there is a possibility of polar bear encounter, if there is some polar bear or something like this. As soon as the guides get to the shore, we spotted swimming polar bear, which was roughly 1 kilometer from the landing site. So in that moment, we jump back to the Zodiac and we get to the vessel. And I took a nice drone video. Considering the polar bear safety, polar bears are not everywhere around you in Svalbard, but you can expect them there. So that means as soon as you are leaving Longyearbyen, you don't have to protect yourself inside of the settlement, but as soon as you are leaving the town, you should know what to do. You should know how to use signal pistol, you should know how to use rifle, and once more, the most important tool for us is binoculars. It was slightly different when I was musher because I had usually 30 dogs with me. The dogs are very noisy, the dogs are very smelly, so that should protect you against the polar bear. But in reality, I met some polar bears with my dog sledge as well. When we are guiding with the guests on the ship, it's slightly easier because we always have a good visibility. We are not landing in the fog, in the mist. And then when we are guiding, we are always taking a good care about checking the landing site. So as soon as the vessel is getting to landing site or closer to the landing site, guides are on the top deck and they are trying to look for the polar bears, because the most important tool for you is the binocular. And we were crossing some glacier on the left screen, and I was guiding some guests with me. As I said, I'm using right now the second generation of BD 242-8XD. With polar bears, you should be always aware. It's a curious predator. So it's not like every polar bear which you will meet will want to attack you. but it's absolutely unpredictable, the behavior of the animal. So what you are trying to do, what you are supposed to do, is to scare the animal away as soon as possible. You can do it with loud noises. You can do it with shooting the flare. Nobody should ever run in front of any animal, any bear, because then you can become the prey. And of course, the best way how to how to go through polar bear encounter is not to have it. So if you will have a good spotting, if you will use your binoculars properly, in many cases you will be able to see the bear long time before the bear is close to you, and then you have that important time to take care for your guests and go to the safety. And I'm also using a TSN 99A spotting scope with a 30 to 70 magnification. This is a photo. I'm also having a kit for digiscoping. So this is actually photo of the polar bear, roughly 1,000, 1,500 meters. And this was actually quite sad example, but I will use it anyway. This was a very skinny polar bear, which we found in southwestern Spitsbergen National Park in Svalbard. And this bear was very skinny. But I'm using the scope usually before we are going to the landing site, because then I can see polar bear better. And if you can imagine the landscape in high Arctic with lots of raised beaches and hidden grounds, the scope is actually helping me to do proper polar bear scouting. I also captured a video, so this is a digiscoping video. And you can see this is maybe 1,500 meters, so the quality is amazing. And you can see that the polar bear is very skinny. But as I wanted to say, if someone will take it out of the context and will tell you that this bear is dying because of climate change, you will put it on social media and so many people will share it. You will put very sad song to it, and everybody will be miserable. If I will put it in the context, I saw another 35 bears that summer, and none of them was this skinny. We saw so many super fat bears. So it's always very important to put things in the context. And yeah, this bear is a bad example, or sad example like this, but maybe he was a bad hunter. It is what it is. Maybe it's a natural selection. He wasn't good enough. He could be old. He could be sick. So it is what it is. Life in the Arctic is very hard. But look at them. This is a beautiful, beautiful male on the most northeastern part of Spitsbergen. And it's really, really exciting to talk about photography again. I'm always trying to keep dynamic and static point on the photo, or dynamic and static aspect. So in this case, the bear is watching like this, he is static, and you have the breaking wave, which is giving the photo the dynamic aspect. And that's how I'm telling that photography is a visual storytelling. Yeah, this was for a long time, I didn't have enough money to actually buy proper photography gear. So now I'm very happy that I'm cooperating with Sony Europe and with some outstanding brands. And this was for a long time my best photo of the polar bear. And it was captured with a mobile phone, because I was sleeping in the hut with my best friend, who started to shout very merrily, polar bear in the morning. And I was just like, hey, what are you doing? We are not scaring ourselves like this in here. And there was this 300 kilograms, 350 kilograms heavy polar bear standing on the window. So it was really something. I hit it with the window, and then we took pots and pans, and we were making lots of noise. and the metal noise was actually scaring the bear away. But one of the first things which you are looking at when you see a polar bear is actually the state of the animal. This bear is very, very fat, so he is not hungry, so it shouldn't be that big problem to actually scare it away. But you always have to think with care because, as I said, polar bears are absolutely unpredictable. So we chased it away. I shot few flares. We made a lots of noise. And after we left the cabin, he was there in 30 minutes and he completely destroyed it. So he was just waiting behind. After we left, he was back. Very smart animal and predator. I'm always putting this photo of my friend Marcel, who actually beat the polar bear with a rope. This is a reality of guiding in Svalbard, especially dog sled guiding. When you have a bad day in complete darkness, you will have to face a situation like this. So Marcel met a polar bear on a very short distance. The bear was sniffing 10-year-old girl, which was sitting on his sledge, and we have a special ropes on the sleds. You cannot shoot the signal pistol because the flare is flying away, so it would be big mess. He didn't want to take the rifle straight away because it would take time as well. So he took a rope and he actually used it against the bear. And he showed some brilliant guiding because he chased the bear away, and they were all healthy and happy soon back home. But it was in complete darkness. I met the bear as well, and it was just crazy. It was quite intense experience, but this is what we are trained for. And this is my video when in complete darkness I was guiding with the fresh polar bear footprints with the dogs. So imagine that these people has never been driving dog sledge. They have never been in high Arctic. So you will tell them something like, yeah, the biggest land predator was walking here like 1 hour ago. So take a photo and we will go. And you pretending that you are tough and strong, and somewhere inside of you there is like person who is a little bit scared. At the end of this part of the talk, I wanted to use this beautiful kind of sentence or double word, which is called conquistadors of the useless. And I love it. I think that if you will go for 5 days long expedition in Svalbard, or if you will climb a mountain, it's absolutely useless. It will not give you anything material you can touch. But I believe that the human soul cannot live without it. So this is a story of one trip. We were going to the east coast of Svalbard. We took 15 dogs. It was absolutely brilliant. We were fighting against the heavy winds roughly for 2,000 kilometers. This is one of my favorite pictures. I call the picture the bond. Sometimes this is like 120, maybe 140 in gusts, kilometers per hour wind on the east coast of Svalbard. And the dogs are always happy to run, but sometimes the leaders are losing the confidence to go against the whiteout and against the wind. So that's exactly the moment when the musher must go to the front and actually must talk with his leaders and explain them that everything will be all right, that this is just wind and just snow, and that everything will be good soon. So one of my favorite photos. And if you see those two dogs at the end, the black one standing and the white one lying, those are so-called VO dogs, 100% Greenlandic dogs. And if the polar bear would come against us, those are the dogs which we would release, and they could save our life. So I believe, and I want to make a project called Primordial Bond, where I will celebrate the beauty of these dogs, because this is why we are saying that the dog is a man's best friend. I believe because of this, because Greenlandic dogs I was working with, they will give me all the emotional closeness. Like you can cuddle with them, they will make you happy. They are working with you. When I had a frostbite on the hands of my customers, I was giving them the hands in the armpit of the dog, and they will save their hands. And if the polar bear would come, they can protect you against the bear. So that's why the dog is called the human's best friend. This is probably the coldest night I've ever had. It's -47 on the east coast of Svalbard. We are sleeping in tent. My friend is in a tent. And always when we are in Svalbard, I prefer to keep a polar bear watch. The bear is very often coming when the campsite is silent. So the most important thing is to just walk around. You don't have to do a lot. You can whistle or you can sing. I believe that my singing would scare away lots of animals. And very often when there is some accident, it's very short time after the campsite will become silent. So this is how we are having a night watch. You can see the dogs sleeping, and also we created a triangle to the possible way where the bear would come. So the dogs would protect us and they would wake us up. If you are lucky on the polar bear watch, then you can have actually reward or present like this. It's one of my favorite photo. I love it. I love the atmosphere, and it's more like, it's not the technical part of the photo, because I could do some things better, but it was -50 and it was crazy. But emotionally, this means for me a lot, because those are the dogs I was working with for 4 years and my really good friend sleeping there. So yeah, very emotional photo for me. Also, what I love simple photography. And for simple photography, you need special places and you need special light. This is 3 o'clock in the morning at the end of the polar night, with the full moon actually giving light on these beautiful mountains. Yeah, I like the patterns, and I like, it looks like cream on the top of the mountains, and I could watch it forever. But that's the end of my talk. I hope that I wasn't boring you. And on the last slide, this is a time in Svalbard we call Pink Spring. It's usually at the beginning of the March. It's absolutely brilliant and beautiful. The sun is actually staying very close to horizon, which is creating these beautiful pink and violet shadows. And I also usually ending the talk with this quote from one of the most depressing philosophers from Germany, Friedrich Nietzsche. But he actually wrote something as beautiful as this quote: "Those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who didn't hear the music." Basically, the things you are doing should make sense only for you, and you don't have to do what other people want you to do. And that's the last thing I wanted to tell you. If there are any questions, I will be very happy to answer them. And thank you so much for being part of this webinar. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jan. That was absolutely fascinating. It really was, and just inspirational. The quality of light in those photographs, it's just, well, breathtaking. Just
Thank you
amazing
so
to
much.
watch. So thank you very much for your time. It was really fascinating. I'm going to hand over to my Kowa colleague, who's going to run through some some questions, if that's okay.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So we actually have one question in. Just wondering why you use the mobile for photos and videos vertically, not horizontal.
Okay, yes. So the answer is very simple. I'm using most of my photos and videos for Instagram. Or sorry, was the question why I'm using vertical, not horizontal, mobile phone?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm using most of my videos and photos I'm using for Instagram, which is usually 9:16. So there is a deep sense between using portrait and landscape as a horizontal and portrait as a vertical in a photography in general. So when I'm taking photos, I would say professionally now, or when I'm taking photos in my work, I'm always thinking how the photos fits in the frame and what I want to say. For example, on this last photo, obviously, for me, it fits to go horizontal because I want to capture the white plains. I have a main subject in the middle of the photo, and then I have the beautiful sky. You could take the photo vertical, but this is how I saw it and how I like it better. When I'm taking photos on my social media, then I'm always using vertical because it's more user friendly for the social media. Does it make sense?
That makes sense. And we also have another question, and it's an interesting one because I think we're all wondering, because you're kind of living a dream. How difficult was it to get a job with Hurtigruten? So maybe, what kind of qualities or what kind of drive do you need to have to start this kind of job?
Okay, it's actually very simple, and then that's why I'm always giving at least one or two motivational slides in, because I'm the best example. I was traveling Canada and Alaska. I was roughly 31 years old, and I realized that I want to professionalize myself in a certain thing, and I don't care what is it gonna be. If it's gonna be pot making, if I'm gonna be artist, if I wanna do music or something, I wanted to professionalize myself in something. And then I met the dogs, and it changed my life. But to get the job with the dogs, I sent 300 emails to the different companies. I created a nice CV. I made a nice CV. I wrote the motivational letter, and then I sent the email for 300 people, for 300 companies, to 300 companies, sorry. And I actually got an answer from Alberta, from one cattle in Kenmore. And I remember I was stating that I'm a best dog sled guide, which has never been dog sledding. And the only thing how I got that job was a passion to do it. And the same way I got a job in Svalbard, and the same way I got a job for the first time in Antarctica, and the same way I got a permanent position in Hurtigruten. So, of course, if you will divide these 4 job applications, then you have lots of hard work between those moments, and loads of educating. You have to educate yourself every day, and that's what I love. But in general, it's the passion that you want to do it, and hard work, and it will always work out, or most of the times it will work out. It's only about how long does it take. So yeah, dream on, go for it. And it's working.
Great. It's giving us some hope. Let's just checking if we have any other questions. I don't see any other coming in. We also have a few questions from our side, but we'll keep it short if you have a few minutes more.
Absolutely.
So you've been mentioning that you're using the BD2 XD and the TSN 99 spotting scope. Just wondering what made you want to cooperate with Kowa? What are the features that you actually really like?
For me was the ratio, we call it something like a ratio between price and appearance. Because when I was first time buying the binoculars, I didn't have so much money, but it was for that money I got most of the reviews like very very high, 4.8, 4.8, 4.9 from 5, and then I bought it and I was comparing it to the many more expensive binoculars, and it was better, even better, or absolutely same. So I love how clear those are. Another thing which is for me very important is the sealing of the binos, because I'm working in the environment which is very very often I would say muddy, icy, wet, or stuff like this. So that's another thing. And also the BD842 for me are very, very compact. So I don't feel them on my neck when I'm in the field.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great to hear. And I guess also because of the rough conditions, it's very durable material. So that's probably also why
Yeah.
it's perfect for you being on the field. Yeah. So
The sealing is great. And then what I love on the digiscoping, for some people, imagine that you have a polar bear 2 kilometers far away from yourself. It's a big difference if you will give a person binoculars. It takes some time before you are able to use it properly and actually see the bear, or very often it's moving. When we have a bear like this, taking my spotting scope and I'm digiscoping, or I will, for a bit, I will actually record the video. I'm using Apple, so you can use 60 frames per second. The videos are amazing. And then people actually show the animal on the display, which is making such a big difference than telling them that dot is a polar bear. You will show them the real-time video on the bear, and then you can start talking with them about the animal. And again, put it in the context, tell about the threats, about what the bear is doing now. And that's amazing. Like the digiscoping is a big changer and game changer, and for us, especially in cruising industry, also for the safety of the guests and for the safety of the bears. It's not about we are blessed that we can be in these areas. So for us there is a biggest pressure, like to do everything as safe as possible. And that's why I love the scope, because I can go on the top deck and I can watch through all the landscape around and try to find the hidden bear.
Great. We have another question. If I want to go for the first time to Svalbard, is it better to do a cruise or a land expedition? What would you advise?
Depends on the person. It's to do a cruise is absolutely stunning way to see Svalbard completely, I would say, because every part of the Svalbard is completely different. So if you will go on the cruise, there is a big chance that you will circumnavigate the island, which will show you completely different landscapes. Some of the southern fjords can be, let's say, the most southern fjord is absolutely frozen. It's very frozen because it's close to the east coast, whereas the influence of East Spitsbergen current, which is much colder than the west coast current. But the fjord 20 kilometers above it looks more like Iceland because there is an influence of West Spitsbergen current. So, for example, you will have a puffins, you will have a birds, you will have a reindeers. Then you go into the North Spitsbergen National Park, and you have really like a sharp, pointy mountains. That's why it's called Spitsbergen, because those are basically in Dutch or German pointy mountains. And then you go in around, and you are getting really into high Arctic tundra, really like a deserts, mostly with elevation 200, 300 meters, and not so many mountains there. And every part of the archipelago is making sense in a certain context. So that's amazing. Like a circumnavigating of Svalbard is brilliant. But from my point of view, Svalbard is most beautiful in the winter. So what you can see on the screen, which I'm sharing now, that's the beginning of March. And I hardly can imagine something more beautiful than Svalbard in March. But of course, it will be colder, it will be more demanding, and you will see less of the island.
Okay. It's giving us some ideas for our next holidays.
Just go for it. You will love it.
I'm pretty sure. And also another question from a participant: how long does one average expedition for visitors take?
Is it the ship-based? Ship-based will be between 8
It's
to 10
not
days.
mentioned. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
8
the
to 10
ship,
okay, days
8
on
to
the
10
ship.
days on the ship. It's very hard to recommend the month, because every year is completely different. The amount of animals is very much connected to the amount of sea ice. So 1 year you will be able to get to certain place in May, and the other year you are not able to get there in August. So everything, it's nature. We are not fighting against the nature. So that's the thing. But in general, it's a beautiful experience. So it's 8 to 10 days. And with dogs, if you would like to go with Green Dog Svalbard, you can have a half-day trip, you can have a full-day trip, and you can have a 3-day, multi-day trip, which is absolutely beautiful. This is from the private expeditions where we are not taking guests, because not everyone is able to sleep in the temperatures under -40, and it's not really enjoyable for everyone. So when we go with the guests for 3 days, they are sleeping in the cabins, because dog sledding can be extremely cold, because you are not very active. So yeah, it can be extremely cold. That's why we are choosing cabins for the guests to sleep in, and hot food and wine and everything what will make you enjoy the trip.
So with some comfort.
It's amazing. On the 3-day trip, we have 2 cabins. One cabin is very simple trapper's cabin with beautiful, it's amazing. I love it. It's very small, it's very tiny, and it will give you a hint how trappers were living in 18th and 19th century. And the second cabin is actually absolutely luxurious house hidden in the Arctic plains of high Arctic, with sauna and beautiful beds and
Wow.
everything like this.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Maybe we can finish. I can hear something. I don't know if it's also on your side. But
It
maybe
is.
we can okay. We can end with a last question. What are your plans for the future? Like, do you have any projects you're working on, or?
Oh, I know what it is. Sorry, give me a
Music
second.
licensing reimagined.
That's some music from my laptop. Sorry for that, but it's quite nice.
Yeah, actually, it suits the background. It's not too bad.
It's not too bad, actually. So I would love to. I love what I'm doing. So I'm spending usually 2 months around the world, then 2 months in Czech Republic, 2 months around the world. Next year, I'm moving to another vessel, and I'm going to Antarctica again, which is a big deal for me because Antarctica is just great. I love history, so I will be for the first time in South Georgia. If some of you were reading about Shackleton and about Antarctic expeditions, South Georgia is very often big part of it, and there is also like a 500,000 pairs of king penguins and lots of animals. So I will go to Greenland this year as well, Svalbard, Greenland, hopefully Galapagos, Patagonia, and South Georgia and Antarctica. So that's from my working side of you. And I'm living in the national park in Czech Republic. I would love to shoot movies about nature here. And in general, just spend as much time as possible with my dogs. And I'm having lots of lectures for the kids in the school. So I would love to involve more people in the Frozen Worlds project. And I would love to talk with the young ones about the climate change and about what we can do. Not a dogmatic point of view, just trying to do my bit to make the world a better place. I know that it's cheesy, but that gives me a sense.
All right. Yeah, that sounds very nice. Also trying to educate the younger generations for what is there to come. I
Yep.
think that's it for the questions. I don't see any other coming in. Maybe we can end with you showing again how we can follow you on social media.
Oh,
Do you have a website? How can we, stay on top of your adventures?
I'm old school type of guy. So most of my content I'm putting on Instagram. Actually, there will be new website coming in. There is an old website with my name as well. There is an email. So if you would be interested in any kind of advices, doesn't matter if it's about photography, if it's about gear, if it's about traveling, I will be very happy to help you. And I'm answering all the questions all the time. So just don't be shy, don't hesitate to actually write me. And that's it. Yeah, Instagram Jan Hvizdal, and that's it.
It's
Brilliant.
Then I would say we can wrap this up. Thank you so very much for your time, Jan. That was a very inspiring talk. Probably the most interesting webinar we've ever had. Maybe also because it's my first. But I'm joking. No, it was very interesting and very inspirational. I'm pretty sure that we all learned a lot from you. And we can't wait to see where this is going. Where our binoculars and spotting scopes will be traveling around the world. And keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a great time.
Absolutely. And then just a quick one. We will put this live onto our YouTube channel in the next couple of days. So if you go onto youtube.com/Kowa Sporting Optics, you'll find other webinars and inspirational videos and things, and we'll get this posted. So if you want to rewatch and look at those fabulous pictures and learn it, get some more details again, please go and rewatch it. Right. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
Talk
one.
to you soon.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.